With regard to the load cases, now very similar to the volume groups, you have the options here to add one particular tank to this load condition. You can add all of the corrosion groups at once, or there's an option to add to all load cases, because you can see now they are on every group. Now I only added them originally to load condition 1, but now they are on every loading condition. So let's run the corroded version and see what we get. So we'll run the global FEA, overwrite our. Now, I just told it to recreate the evaluation patches, so that was going to clear out all the ones that were created and recreate them. And normally you'll get the same thing, if you were just using the automatic creation. If you had modified your geometry, your patch definitions may change, so you may want to do the full automatic update there. But actually, we reloaded the model, so it wouldn't have mattered. But I had manually defined some of those patches down near the bilge that weren't automatically created, and telling it to recreate all of my patches would have eliminated those manually defined ones. So if you do go through and manually define some patches, be careful about just automatically clicking that button. And this will take just a minute as it runs through all 4 load cases. But that's why I was using the half model, so this would run a little quicker. This particular hull, as we showed previously when we were looking for failures and the stresses, the load conditions that we've created for this, the sagging and hogging moments, aren't stressing the hull too badly. So when we come in and view our, say we'll just look at stress, well, we can see that deck patch where we made the plate a good bit thinner is definitely showing some increased stress. The tank, however, I mean, that has a pretty serious scantling reduction. We only had 5 millimeters left of the plating and 3 millimeters left on the webs and flanges. In the tank here, where we only corroded 5 millimeters and 3 millimeters on the webs and flanges, it's pretty consistent with the rest of the structure around it. And we can come in here and check our adequacy, and we'll do the minimum value for all. Granted, this is a still water load condition. There's not a whole lot of stress on it to begin with, just floating in flat water. And we'll just highlight the negatives. And of course, we have no negatives, but we're simply floating in flat water here. We can come in and tell it, I want to see the adequacy for all load cases. And now we see some issues. Now the tank is still in good shape. It didn't have as much corrosion, but that deck patch where we put a substantial amount of corrosion has some serious failures. I mean, minus 0.8. So we come in like we did the other day, and we can select adequacy and for the patch, and we can see it's load case 3 plate ultimate strength for many of these as the limiting worst failure. And when we come into load case 3, it is our sagging condition, and we'll change our adequacy from all load cases to just the current one, which doesn't change the plot much in this area. If we switch to hogging, still some minor failures, but it barely fails there. In hogging, it's some of the vertical stiffeners here, and for plating, more so on the center vertical keel. And then the still water, of course, doesn't have a whole lot of stress except for these extremely long evaluation patches on those decks, those bulkheads rather. We query this, we can see both plate buckling and plate ultimate have problems.